Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. Breaking news is the England squad announcement has been made by Gareth Southgate, the provisional 30-man squad. It will go down to the 26-man squad. But from Manchester United, the breaking news is that Marcus Rashford has not made the 30-man provisional squad for England for the Euros this summer. I mean, first of all, what do you make of that? Marcus Rashford has been an important figure to the England camp for quite a while now. He's not made the squad after a bad season for Manchester United. Is that the right thing from Gareth Southgate, and how is this going to affect Marcus Rashford going forward? Also, there are some Manchester United players that have made the squad, and the players are Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw and Mayu. They have all made the provisional 30-man England squad. I think there'll be a lot of opinions on Luke Shaw being in there. A lot of people happy about Mayu going, but also for a Manchester United selfish standpoint, you would have liked him to get a rest in the summer, but with my English head on as an English fan, it's absolutely brilliant that he's been called up. Some really interesting inclusions there, and also as well, Bruno Fernandes and Diogo Dalot, it's recently been announced that they will be part of the Portugal squad for the Euros. But the initial breaking news is that Rashford has been excluded from the England squad, the 30-man provisional squad. We had this first from Sam C. Report, Sam for the United Stand. He got the scoop on this, a very good scoop. And to be honest with you, I'm not surprised. I think if Rashford would have gone, a lot of eyebrows would have been raised as to why, because he's had such a poor season. Other people have come back on, well, Jack Grealish is part of the squad. Why is he part of the squad? Because he's not had a great season and he's not really been getting much of a look in for Manchester City. I mean, I've got my own opinions on that. I'm getting absolutely battered on Twitter for saying I would absolutely take Jack Grealish, but I don't think Rashford necessarily deserves to go. I do agree that Rashford can be a good asset to have off the bench, but I just think if we're looking at who's a better footballer, personally for me, I think Jack Grealish is. But get in the comments all your thoughts down below. I mean, initially, a lot of you guys saying that there's mixed reports already. Some people saying he's a big game player, he's a good player to have to bring off the bench to be a deciding factor in a game. For that, I would agree. I think off the bench, he's definitely where his attributes are suited to, especially for this England side. But also, if you look over the course of the season, has Rashford really done enough to make the England squad? You've got players like Cole Palmer ripping it up. You've got players like Anthony Gordon having an amazing season. When you look at the basis of the wingers for England, has Rashford done enough? And I don't think he has, and Gareth Southgate has clearly thought that as well. I mean, in terms of, for Rashford, to be left out of a 30-man squad for England, it is a little bit humiliating, to be honest, for him and for his standards. I mean, this time last year, people were talking about Rashford as being one of the best players in the world. Like, he'd just come off the back of an absolutely tremendous season for Manchester United, a tremendous goal-scoring season anyway, and you would have thought the world was at his feet. For it to go from that to not being included in a 30-man provisional squad for England's Euros, no one could have imagined the drop-off would be that big from this time last year to now. Like, I don't think anybody could have imagined that, but that's the position that we're in. And I hope for Rashford, for his personal sake, this is a wake-up call. A wake-up call for him is to, this summer, okay, yeah, he's not going to the Euros and he's going to be gutted. Is any English player not going to the Euros with this England squad when you've got a very good chance of winning it? You are going to be gutted. You want to play for your country. You want to be involved in the big games. You want to have a chance at winning that trophy. And you're going to be gutted. Rashford will be gutted hearing that news. But what you've got to do is you've got to use that news. You've got to use a setback to fuel you for the comeback. And Rashford should use this. He should use the fact that he's had a poor season for United, the fact that a lot of United fans are writing him off. I mean, I massively don't agree with what the fans were saying to him in the stands the other week. I just don't think you should be doing that at a game. I think you should be supporting the players. But all the criticism that he feels like has been put towards him and everything that is kind of gone against him, he should take all of that up and he should use that as fuel going into next season. Get your head down, work really hard this summer in pre-season and have the comeback season next year. Get your England spot back. Live up to the hype of the 350 grand a week player that Manchester United gave the contract to, and get yourself back into form. And that's what Rashford needs to do. He needs to use his setback as fuel for next season. And as gutted he's going to be that he's not part of the Euro squad, he can use that as motivation to make himself a better footballer and a better player, and he gets a well-deserved break because he has been non-stop for quite a few seasons on end now from a young player. Have that break, work hard in the gym, get back to the best in your football and come back strong for Manchester United next season. Or he might decide he wants to leave, but I think he wants to stay. And if he wants to stay, work your hardest to get back to your best shape for Manchester United next season and use that as a clean slate under this new era and be the best player that you can possibly be. I'm being told to check my WhatsApp. We have a quote from Gareth Southgate. So Gareth Southgate on leaving Marcus Rashford out, and he said that there are difficult calls, players who are very good players. With Marcus, I just feel other players in that area of the pitch have had better seasons. It's as simple as that. So that is Gareth Southgate's reasoning for leaving Marcus Rashford out of the squad. Get your comments in. I'll read out your opinions as well. Make sure you get your super chats in so I can see them. Obviously, the chat's going quite fast, so if you get your super chat in, you have more chance of your comment being read. We've got a lot of people saying, well, why has Grealish been called up then if it's about quality in position and having a poor season? And I'm getting absolutely cooked on Twitter right now for saying this. And I'm going to bring up what my tweet was. So I said, people complaining that Grealish is called up blows my mind. Grealish is a fantastic player, suffered from lack of game time this season, yes, but that's in a phenomenal City side. Grealish absolutely should go with the England camp. His playmaking is top draw. And people were saying, well, if Rashford isn't going, then neither should Grealish. And I don't think people grasp this. Grealish was a very, very important cog in a Manchester City team that won the treble. The treble. Only one side has done that before in English history, and that's Manchester United. That's like what Beckham was doing. That's like what Scholes was doing. Like, you have won. He was an important cog in winning the treble. He started the FA Cup final. He started the Champions League semi-final. He started the Champions League final. Every big game he would start. And okay, yes, that was last season, but he is a really, really good player, and people say, well, he's only got this many goals and assists. If football was only about goals and assists, then where would we be? Like, you could play a terrible game and score a goal, or you could have a massive influence over the course of 90 minutes, not manage to get a goal or an assist, but you've been a brilliant player over the course of 90 minutes. Like, where do we just start using our eyes and actually watch how players play? So for me, I think Grealish absolutely should go. Rashford, the only thing about Rashford that I would say is a reason for him going, which I think could be a big reason why you would want to take him, is the dynamics he can offer off the bench. You know, if you're going to bring someone to run at tired legs, Rashford is going to run at you. He's got that flair. He can take on a man. He's very direct. He has a lot of power. You know, he's in terms of goals that he can score some absolute screamers. Like, he has got that individual brilliance element to him. He would probably balance quite well with a Harry Kane up front. There are arguments I can make for taking Rashford with you. But off the back of Rashford's season, like, even this season, when Rashford's come off the bench, like, has he lit it up for Man United? Has he had that same impact that we've seen Marcus Rashford have over seasons for Manchester United before? Like, when he came off the bench against Wolves last season, remember when he was late to that meeting? He got benched, came off the bench, and he just had this grit and he had this power, and he drove through the Wolves defenders and stuck it bottom corner, I think, in the goal, and Manchester United ended up winning that. It was an important game for them to win. Like, Rashford has that ability to come off the bench and affect games, but this season at Manchester United, when he's come off the bench, you haven't seen the same power, you haven't seen the same directness, you haven't seen the same Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford this season, for me, is unrecognisable from the Marcus Rashford that we had last season, and yes, okay, him not being in the England squad, people might have some opinions about it, but realistically, based on this season, has he been good enough to get in? He's not. And again, like I said, rest, refuel, it's better for Manchester United, and he can come back a better player next season. And kind of, he needs to reflect on this season, reflect on what's gone wrong, reflect on if Manchester United is the place where he wants to continue to play football for, reflect on what he can do to make himself a better player, reflect on how he gets himself back to where he was at last season. He needs to reflect on his overall game and performance, and him not being in the Euros gives him a chance to do that and gives him that break, and hopefully gives him that wake-up call as well. And it'll be very interesting to see how Marcus Rashford's future moves going into next season. I think it will be at Manchester United, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, a lot of people talking about the fact that Luke Shaw is in the England squad as well. I've seen a lot of people complaining about this, just basically based off the fact that Luke Shaw hasn't played for Manchester United since January. How come he's all of a sudden going to be fit for the Euros? A lot of people are frustrated with that point. I mean, we heard that Luke Shaw was touch and go for the final, but he just might not make it. I really would like to think that Luke Shaw genuinely cannot play for Manchester United right now, and he's just not up to that fitness. And the reason that Gareth Southgate has included him is because he's just going to be back, and there is a quality left-back shortage in England right now. Like, quality left-backs in England, it is hard to come by. But I think it also shows the quality of Luke Shaw, that he has still been picked. Like, he's not kicked a ball for Manchester United barely all season, and Southgate is still going to pick him. That's usually reserved for, like, the best of the best sort of players. Like, Luke Shaw, technically he's a footballer. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Would I be open to moving him on from Manchester United? Yes, I would. Because there's no point having a quality player but never being able to use them, and his injury record is a disaster. There's no hiding it. His injury record is a disaster. And with him being called up to England, again, as an England fan, I'm buzzing because he's the best left-back we have. Like I said, when Luke Shaw is fit and available, I think he's one of the best left-backs in Europe, like genuinely, but he just never is. And that's the shame about it. But if Luke Shaw hasn't been able to play for United all season, ends up going to England and gets injured again at England and isn't ready for the start of Manchester United season, my Manchester United head will be very, very, very upset about that and not happy with that. So with Luke Shaw, it's like, our players prioritising playing over England and playing for Manchester United, and that shouldn't be the case. Like, Man United pays your wages at the end of the day. Like, that should be the priority. If Luke Shaw genuinely has had, tried to get fit for the FA Cup final, tried to get fit for United's end of the season, hasn't been able to make it, coincidentally can make it for the Euros, then I understand why he wants to go. You're representing England, you're representing your country. He's an important player to Gareth Southgate. But I really, really hope he doesn't get injured playing them Euros. But we know what Luke Shaw's like. He's made of breadsticks, he's made of glass. And if he gets injured and isn't ready for Man United's pre-season, isn't ready for the start of the season, that is massively frustrating considering the issues we've had with Luke Shaw this season as well. But we've got a quote on Gareth Southgate on Luke Shaw too. And Gareth Southgate has said on Luke Shaw, he is up against it with his injury. He missed a lot of football. The fact he's been our first choice in that position, we're probably giving him a bit longer. I spoke with him, but I have to say he's a long shot to make the final squad. So Gareth Southgate said it's a long shot for him to make the final squad. So basically Luke Shaw is just massively trying to get himself back fit for the Euros. Like, he's been injured for Manchester United for a long time. He tried to get back for the FA Cup final. He's not managed to do so. He had a setback in his recovery, and now he's trying to get back fit for the Euros as well. And Southgate saying it's a race against time. The last thing I want as a Man United fan who rates Luke Shaw very, very highly and thinks he's very, very important to Manchester United is Luke Shaw rushing himself back from injury to play for England, him then playing, re-injuring himself, and him not being ready for the start of Manchester United season. I don't want that. As an England fan, I want him to play because I think he's the best left-back we've got, and we've got a shortage of good left-backs in England. So anyone watching at home as an aspiring footballer, English, go into the left-back profession, you have a good shout. Anyone left-footed, go into the left-back position, you're in with a good shout. But Luke Shaw, that's going to be, for me, is he thinking about it from a Manchester United perspective? The best thing I think Luke Shaw could do is be like, you know what, I've been injured all season. I really want to make the England squad, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I just think my body's not allowing me to. Like, I think I need to recover properly. Take the time off, have a holiday, rest, recharge, get back up to your full fitness, come back to Manchester United pre-season, raring, ready to go, with a focus on keeping fit and trying to stay fit and being an important part of a really important season for Manchester United going into next season. That's what I would want Luke Shaw to do. I think he'll probably just end up making the Euro squad. And the fact that Gareth Southgate said it's a long shot and it's raced against time, to me, if Luke Shaw does make it, he's probably not going to be 100% fully fit. And that isn't good for Manchester United, because when you're not 100% fully fit, you're way more likely to have a recurring injury. You're way more likely to re-injure yourself again. We've seen it when it's happened to Lisandro Martinez. We've seen it when we've brought players back too early before. So that about Luke Shaw for me is quite worrying, to be honest with you. And we've got some super chats coming in from Mike B saying countdown to Rashford PR in 3, 2, 1. Patrick Lynch says it's not about being spectacular. Being professional means putting in hard work and being consistent. If you can't do that, then you can't complain. That is from Patrick Lynch. Shadrach says, Beth, fans forgive and forget easily. We need players to perform. We were criticising Maguire. He just pulled his socks up and now we all hail him. Exactly. I've always said this about this fan base. When you are doing well, or like genuinely the bare minimum, to be honest, within this fan base, you will get a lot of credit, a lot of praise. If the fans can tell that you're not doing everything you can, then then fans are going to criticise you because you're playing for Manchester United and there's a very high expectation at Manchester United, and we are one of the biggest clubs in the world and the biggest club in England. Like, you are getting paid a high amount of money. You are putting on that red shirt. You will be criticised. But if you put in the effort, you put in the work rate and you give everything to this club, the fans will give you all the love in the world. We've said that so many times before. And VK Dean says Rashford has match-winning abilities and is a big game player. From the bench, he's still a weapon for England. I agree, he can be that weapon, but Gareth Southgate has chosen not to include him. He has the likes of... I've actually not gone and looked at the full squad because we went live bang on 2 p.m, but let's see who else is in there in terms of the wingers who is competing with Rashford, and then I've got a little bit more news coming in for you. What do you guys think about Kobbie Mainoo, by the way, going? I think he absolutely had to go based on how good he's been this season. Hopefully he makes the 30-man squad, which, not the 30-man squad, the 26-man squad when the 30-man squad gets cut down. But what do you think about that for Kobbie Mainoo? Selfishly for Manchester United again, I would have loved him to get a break, rest, recharge, back for Manchester United fit and healthy going into next season. But also, him going to England, he's going to gain so much experience. He's going to be playing with elite level players. I think, you know, the England squad is very stacked with quality players. I expect England to get very far in that competition, if not win the Euros with the squad that they've got. He's going to be around excellent players every single day. He's going to be around leaders in that dressing room, you know, Harry Kane, players like that. And I think he'll gain a lot of experience. So despite the fact he's not going to get a break, which is obviously something you'd like him to get, he's only 18, 19 years old. Like, his body is young, he can deal with it. But what I would say is he's going to gain a vast amount of experience and a lot of confidence as well. So that could be positives regarding Mainoo. And in terms of the provisional England squad, we've got it here. So you've got Dean Henderson, ex-Man United, Jordan Pickford, Aaron Ramsdale and James Trafford as the keepers. I expect James Trafford to drop out of that going into the squad that gets cut down. Defenders, you've got Jarrad Branthwaite, potential Manchester United player next season. Definitely a big Manchester United target in Jarrad Branthwaite going in the England squad, the 30-man provisional squad. I actually think he'll make the full squad as well, to be honest with you. And that is an angle that Everton can use to drive Branthwaite's price up. Him being in the England squad, again, I think he deserves it. I think he's had a brilliant season and a great experience for him to be part of the England squad. 21 years old, centre-back. You know, his career is only going to go up and up and up. Manchester United are interested in signing him in the summer. Obviously, the only way Manchester United can sign Branthwaite is if they get a fair price from Everton. Everton are in financial difficulty, but Branthwaite being part of the England squad, that does drive the price up. It does. And we're going to talk about that with Ivan Toney in a second as well. So Lewis Dunk also, Joe Gomez, Mark Gahey, another Man United target, Ezri Konsa, Harry Maguire, Quansah from Liverpool, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier and Kyle Walker. In terms of fullbacks, yeah, I mean, there's not interesting, like, you know, the right-back position. The right-back position for England used to be stats. OK, Trent's in the midfielder section. So in terms of midfielders, you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Conor Gallagher, Curtis Jones, Kobbie Mainoo, Declan Rice and Adam Wharton. I definitely expect Kobbie Mainoo to be going to that England squad based on the midfielders that I named there. I don't get why Jude Bellingham isn't named as a midfielder, by the way. Like, he absolutely is a midfielder. And then in terms of forwards, you've got Jude Bellingham, Jared Bowen, Eze from Crystal Palace, very well deserved. Eze has been class this season. Phil Foden, Anthony Gordon, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, James Maddison, Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka, Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins. So again, if Ivan Toney goes to England For Brentford, that drives his price up. England international playing in the Euros, and it's harder to get the deal done. You can still get the deal done, obviously, because players do return from the Euros, but that's a big time out where players will say, I'm focusing on the Euros, you know, when you're trying to do a deal. And Brentford have that in their armour to kind of rise the Ivan Toney price. But when you look at all the forwards there, you can't really make too much of an argument for Marcus Rashford. I mean, to be honest, James Maddison, I don't think he needed to go, to be honest with you. And I think he might get cut from the squad. You've got, are you really going to take Kane, Toney and Watkins? Like 3 out-and-out strikers? Are you really going to take 3 of them? Maybe you will. Cole Palmer had to go after the season he's had. Anthony Gordon has been better than Marcus Rashford this season, also in his position. Jared Bowen has been great. I think he's another one that might end up getting cut, though, from the final squad, potentially. Phil Foden's obviously going to be in there. I think Eze, you can't argue against it. He's been fantastic for Crystal Palace, a great talent. I mean, Bellingham should be in the midfielder section, but you look at all of them players and they've all had fantastic seasons. Like, it's hard to make the argument for Marcus Rashford. The only argument you can make as well is he can play as a striker. So, you know, he can play as a winger or a striker. God forbid anything happens to Kane. But if Kane's fit, he plays every single game. He plays every single game, which is why I don't know if Toney and Watkins would both go, which Toney might end up losing out because Watkins would go ahead of Toney based on the season he's had. He would have to. And Eve, you know, I'm an Ivan Toney fan. I think I would definitely say that Watkins would go ahead of him just based on the way he's played this season. But it's very, very interesting to see. Big targets for Manchester United. Jared Branthwaite in the squad, gonna drive the price up. Ivan Toney in the squad, gonna drive the price up. Interesting to kind of see how this develops. And for Portugal as well, I mean, it's a very long shot that we have a chance of signing João Neves, but Casemiro looks like he's going. You saw that on the show with Romano if you watched it. Really insightful comments from Romano on the midfielder situation. We keep getting told by Romano, Ben Jacobs, Man United massively appreciate João Neves. They love him. They just don't think they can afford him. If Ineos were to make a splash and make a statement signing, you know, Amrabat's going, Casemiro's going, Eriksen's going, João Neves could be that player if we get enough funds. He's going with the Portugal squad. That, again, drives the price up. Going to be playing with Bruno Fernandes, though. Going to be there. We know that Bruno Fernandes has already recommended him to Manchester United. He rates him very highly. But that drives his price up. And also, it's harder to do these deals when the players are at the Euros in that summer transfer window. The likes of the Tadibos, the Elises, it's easier to do them deals because they're not part of the international squads. The players that are part of the international squads, it's harder to negotiate and it's harder to get that deal done quickly than it is if they're not. But getting all your comments down below there. Oh, a lot of people saying Neves' price can't go up because there's a release clause. Yeah, Neves has a release clause. But again, it's another factor. As I think Manchester United on João Neves is they would want to bring the price down of the release clause is what I was trying to get at there. Like, Man United are not going to be paying the release clause that he's currently got. I doubt, very highly doubt. I think what they would try to do is get the release clause down, but playing in an international tournament for a brilliant squad like Portugal, it's going to be very, very hard to do that deal is what I was kind of trying to get at there. But thank you for pulling me up on that. Ginge says Rashford cannot play striker, Beth. No, I agree with you. Like, I don't think he's good in that position. Like, I really don't think he's good in that position, and I don't think he should be playing that position for England. But if worst came to worst, and you had players, you know, that you were going to put up front, like, he would be on the selection list, wouldn't he? Like, he has played there before is what I was trying to get at. But yeah, no complaints in Rashford not going. If he did go, I would have said that's someone you can use off the bench. But here's an interesting fact on Marcus Rashford that Ricky actually sent me before, and I thought I'd bring it up to you guys, because a lot of people say, you know, Marcus Rashford, he's been an integral part of the England squad for a long time now. He's got a lot of international merit. Well, Ricky sent me this and I thought it was very fascinating. Rashford has been to 4 tournaments in which England have played 22 games. These are major tournaments, by the way. He's only started twice of 22 games. One of them was a dead rubber game against Belgium, and one of them was a game in which Wales needed to beat England 4-0 to knock them out. So people talk about Rashford being important for England, and Gareth Southgate clearly doesn't see him as a big game player for him. Like, he clearly doesn't see him as an important player to the starting 11 anyway, because the only games he started are games that haven't been important, and there's 2 of them. And I remember against France in the final last year, I mean, we were crying out to bring Rashford on, and I think it was a massive mistake from Southgate not bringing him on, by the way. I would have brought him on. And he brought Sterling on ahead of him, which I thought was really strange. So Southgate clearly doesn't maybe rate Rashford as highly as what people think that he has, but in terms of his appearances for England, he has 23 goals and assists in 60 appearances for England. And Grealish has 9 goals and assists in 36 appearances for England. Like I said, it's not all about goals and assists, it's about how you influence a game. But goals and assists do win you games, so they're kind of game-breaking, decisive moments in big games from Marcus Rashford. So it is a risk from Southgate not including him as a kind of a weapon off the bench, but that's the decision he's made, and I don't think a lot of people would complain about it. Keep getting your comments in. Benjamin says Rashford being dropped is the best thing that can happen to that England team. Manchester United remain in their mediocrity. Very interesting. And Michael Spratt says, I wonder what this Euros thing that Beth is talking about. I'm going to spend my summer watching the Euros. Sorry if my pronunciation of the Euros is Mancunian. I'm from Manchester. I have a Mancunian accent. Lay off it. Someone tagged me in a TikTok the other day, by the way. I wish I could play it to you guys now. Someone tagged me in a TikTok saying, at Beth Tucker, this sounds like you. And it was like the most Mancunian woman like ordering this McDonald's. And I thought, do you know what? Maybe I do need to kind of like, when I start speaking fast and I'm just in my flow, I feel like my accent does get more and more Mancunian. Maybe I need to rein it in a little bit. But I will never be ashamed because Mancunian till I die. What did you say? I've got my producer asking me to say something. Polo. I don't know what you're trying to say. You've got an Irish accent. So my producer's in my ear trying to tell me to say something, but I can't even understand what he's saying because he's got an Irish accent. Akil Aravind, a member for 19 months. Not surprised Rashford is not selected. Good thing he can rest and come back strong next season. In my opinion, sell him. Ineos needs to back the manager. Rashford for 70 million, sell. I think you can get more than 70 million for Marcus Rashford, personally. I think you can get more for him. And I think on the contract that Rashford's on and the situation he's in, I don't think many clubs are going to be lining up to buy Marcus Rashford, to be honest with you. And with the contract he's in, it kind of leaves Manchester United in the situation where they're going to have to stick by him. And they've got to work with him and hope this summer, with that break from the Euros, that he can get his head down and work hard and write this season off. You know, I think if you had a sit down honest conversation with Marcus Rashford now, there's probably been some factors that we don't know about that has affected his form this season, but I think he would admit that this season has been nowhere near his standards or good enough for what he can do and what is expected of him. What he should do now is put this behind him, make sure it doesn't happen again next season, and don't let this be now your reputation. Don't let this become Marcus Rashford. Try and be the player that he knows he can be, which he's been previously. Like, there's always been a good player in Rashford, but the problem is it's like on and off like a light switch. He needs to figure out how to keep the light shining, how to keep that consistency going. That's something he should focus on this summer. And then quickly, just to end the show, there was a lot of talk about Manchester United being interested in the Ajax left-back / centre-back, Jorrel Hato, 18 years old. So it was coming out in a report by HITC that the MEN put out before. They said that Jorrel Hato is reportedly an active target for Arsenal. He's now having Manchester United are now doing their homework on the player Jorrel Hato. The active, and obviously Arsenal apparently are looking at him as well. He's made 46 appearances for Ajax this season, despite only being 18. It has been widely reported that Manchester United plan to sign a left-back this summer, and it is claimed that Hato has made his way onto their radar. It is reported that United admire the defender and have been aware of him for a long time. He's already made 61 first-team appearances at Ajax, so Jorrel Hato can play centre-back, can play left-back, up-and-coming rising star at Ajax, 18 years old, on the radar of Arsenal. Arsenal are also scouting him. Manchester United also apparently now scouting him as well. It has been reported that Manchester United are in the market for a young left-back. But I don't want to burst the bubble. I wanted to report on this news, but I wanted to give my honest opinion on it, and I also wanted to do my research. Unfortunately, I've not been able to watch Ajax regularly this season. I've just not been able to do it. They've not been in the Champions League. They've not been in Europe, really. And I've not been managed to do it, so I don't know much about Jorrel Hato. I do know someone who watches Ajax every single time they play, and is a massive, massive Ajax fan. So I messaged them and I said, can you give me your opinion on Jorrel Hato, please? Apparently he's a target for Manchester United. And he said, he's a very promising talent, the best talent at Ajax, but he will not leave, Beth, trust me. He's just signed a new contract and he also isn't ready at all. So on Jorrel Hato, I think that's a link that's just being made. One, because we've made connections with Ajax before. We've made connections with Ajax before over a player that Arsenal's been interested in as well. Remember Lisandro Martinez. We've had connections with Ajax ever since Erik ten Hag came in. We've had connections with Ajax before that, but since ten Hag came in, any player at Ajax that starts to do seemingly a little bit well, Manchester United get linked to them. We had it with Brian Brobby. We're having it now with Jorrel Hato. I think Man United will continuously be linked to Ajax players for as long as Erik ten Hag is manager at Manchester United, but I really don't think there's anything in this Jorrel Hato story, but we'll see how it develops. I will be interested to see what left-back Manchester United do go for. I saw reports earlier this morning that Doty from Luton is now someone that Manchester United are looking at. I saw something, but it was like a tin pot sauce about Manchester United being interested in Aït-Nouri as well from Wolves. Would be really interesting to see where we go and how much we spend, because United are going to buy a left back. They're looking at a young left back. Who will it be? Who is at the top of your priority list? Nobody massively stands out to me. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. Mimo says, "Hi Beth, would you consider Mikalenko at left back?" No. A lot of people have guessed who my secret source is. Yes, it is the European lad. It is the European lad. How did people know that? I did message him on Twitter and he gave me that answer back. So yeah, it was him. It was him on that. But that is everything for the show today on the afternoon show. Rashford not in the squad. Hopefully a wake-up call and get training, get your head down this summer, rest, recharge, and come back a better player. Use it as fuel. You know what? Honestly, when you ever have a setback in life and things don't go your way, it's all about your mindset and your mentality. How do you turn a negative into a positive? You don't get something that you want in life. How do I go on and then get it? How do I make sure this doesn't happen again? How do I prove these people wrong? Anything that's gone against you, anything that frustrates you in life, you should try and use it as fuel to make yourself better. And I hope Marcus Rashford does that this summer. It was quite a shock to a lot of people, but he's not included. Luke Shaw in a rush against time to get fit for the Euros. Should he go, or should he rest and recover and be ready for Manchester United next season, seeing as he's been out for Manchester United all season through injury? If I was Erik ten Hag, I'd be advising Luke Shaw to stay at home, but as an England fan, I'd want him to go. Let me know your comments down below. Kobbie Mayu could be his first major tournament for England. How exciting of an opportunity is that for him? Also, get your comments in about the left-back situation. What names would you put forward to be the new Manchester United left-back? Thank you very much. Make sure you stay tuned in. The Euros are upon us. Transfer window's upon us. It's going to be a fantastic couple of months and I can't wait to cover it. Hit a like on the video on your way out, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Can't wait to see Mark's reaction to this later on as well. And we will see you on the next one.